In the heat of Lagos, while Elon Musk's flashy visit to Makoko brought temporary gifts and brief cheers, a deeper problem loomed. The sun blazed brightly over Lagos as Elon Musk's small convoy made its way through the crowded streets. Despite being in one of the most vibrant and bustling cities in the world, today felt different. This wasn't the usual corporate event or tech conference. Today, Elon Musk was visiting the heart of one of Nigeria's largest slums, Makoko. Elon's visit had been highly anticipated, and word had spread quickly. News outlets, social media, and local communities buzzed with excitement. He had come to Lagos not for business, but to witness firsthand the struggles of the underprivileged and to see how he could help. He was accompanied by top politicians and armed security, their presence as much a part of the spectacle as the man himself. As the convoy approached Makoko, the streets became narrower, the buildings older and more dilapidated. This was a world far removed from the luxurious offices of Silicon Valley. The people here lived in cramped conditions, many in homes built on stilts over the water. The slum was a labyrinth of makeshift houses, some barely standing, others held up by nothing more than wooden planks. Elon looked out of the window, his gaze shifting between the streets and the people who lined them. His thoughts were heavy with the responsibility he felt as an influential figure in the world. Despite the security and the crowd, he knew that the real reason he was here was to connect, to learn, and to see what could be done. After a brief meeting with local officials, Elon Musk and his entourage made their way to a small local boat. The boat was an ordinary one, painted in bright colors, but it symbolized something much greater. It was a way to connect with the people of Makoko, to navigate the narrow waterways that separated their homes. As the boat drifted through the water, Elon looked around, observing the community. The slum was a place of both beauty and hardship. Children played in the water, women washed clothes, and men worked on small boats, ferrying goods across the waterways. It was a world that seemed worlds apart from the tech-driven life that Elon was used to. The boat moved slowly, and as they passed, people waved from their homes. Children ran along the docks, excited to see the famous entrepreneur. Elon smiled and waved back, though there was a sense of discomfort in his heart. This wasn't just a photo opportunity. It was a stark reminder of the disparities that existed between the wealthy and the impoverished. He could see the gratitude in the eyes of the people, but there was something else too, an expectation. They had seen this kind of visit before. Rich men and women came to take pictures, give away small gifts, and then leave, leaving little behind. The thought weighed heavily on Elon's mind. As the boat made its way through Makoko, the entourage began distributing gifts. Bags of rice, cans of food, clothing, and small amounts of cash were handed out to the people standing on the docks. The crowd cheered, grateful for the small gestures. But among the cheers, there was an undeniable tension, a feeling that these offerings, though generous, were not enough to solve the underlying issues. Elon watched, his face a mixture of empathy and unease. As the gifts were passed out, he couldn't help but notice how temporary it all seemed. The excitement in the crowd was real, but it quickly dissipated, leaving behind the reality of the community's daily struggles. Despite the applause and the praise from the politicians accompanying him, Elon felt uneasy. He had come here to help, but he knew deep down that handing out gifts wouldn't fix the systemic problems these people faced. How could he make a difference that lasted? How could he help in a way that went beyond the moment? Amidst the bustle, Elon noticed a small figure sitting quietly by the side of the dock, watching the event unfold. The little girl didn't seem to be excited by the gifts or the attention. She wasn't running toward him like the others. She wasn't waving or calling his name. She was just sitting there, alone, in deep thought. The little girl's name was Oma. She was about 8 years old, but there was a maturity in her eyes that belied her age. She sat on a wooden crate by the side of the dock, watching everything with a distant gaze. Her clothes were torn, her skin dirty from the dust of the slum, and her hair unkempt. She looked hungry, but more than that, she looked sad. While the other children rushed toward Elon and the gifts, Oma remained in her spot, almost as if she were invisible. She didn't approach him for a picture or to take any of the gifts. She simply sat there, her face downcast, her thoughts far away. It was as if she didn't believe in the fleeting excitement that the adults were handing out. As the boat began to turn, signaling the end of the visit, something unexpected happened. Oma suddenly stood up and ran toward the boat, her feet bare on the wooden dock, her face filled with determination. She wasn't smiling, but there was a fire in her eyes. Elon's security team immediately started to move toward her, but he raised his hand, signaling them to stop. He wanted to hear what she had to say. Oma approached the boat, her eyes fixed on Elon. She was small and fragile-looking, but there was an intensity in her gaze that caught Elon off guard. She didn't say anything at first, just stood there, staring at him, as if she were weighing him, as if she were trying to decide whether he was worth her words. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Oma spoke. Her voice was small but clear. "Why do you have so much money?" she asked. "And we are here suffering. Why can't you share all your wealth with us? Why can't you help people like me?" Elon was taken aback by the intensity of her question. For a moment, he stood there in stunned silence, unsure of how to respond. The security team, sensing tension, moved forward again, but Elon motioned for them to stop once more. Oma's words hung in the air like a weight, demanding an answer. Elon Musk, the billionaire entrepreneur known for his ambitious projects and groundbreaking ideas, found himself at a loss for words. In all his years of building companies, sending rockets to space, and changing the world, he had never been confronted so directly with the reality of inequality. Oma's question was simple, but it cut deep. He looked at her, seeing not just a poor child, but a person who represented the countless others in the world who lived in poverty. He had come to help, to make a difference, but now he realized that he couldn't solve everything with a few gifts. Oma wasn't asking for temporary relief. She was asking for real change. After a few seconds of silence, Elon finally spoke. His voice was softer than usual, almost as if he were speaking more to himself than to Oma. "I understand the pain and frustration that comes from seeing so many people struggling, and I want to do what I can to help. But the truth is, even if I gave away all my wealth, it wouldn't solve the problem of poverty. Poverty is a systemic issue. It's about creating opportunities, improving education, and building sustainable solutions. I believe that the best way I can help is by investing in technologies, creating jobs, and working on solutions that can uplift people in the long term. It's not just about giving money. It's about creating a future where everyone has a chance to succeed. When I was younger, I didn't come from wealth or privilege. I came from a place where we didn't have much and life wasn't always easy. I remember times when we didn't know where the next meal was coming from, or if we could afford to keep the lights on. It was tough, and it made me realize something important. No matter where you start, no matter how hard things get, the most important thing is to never give up. I didn't have a silver spoon. I had to work for everything I have. I spent countless sleepless nights trying to build things with limited resources, often doubting if I could ever make it. But what kept me going, what kept me from giving up, was believing that anyone, no matter where they come from, can build something extraordinary if they work hard enough and never lose sight of their dreams. I've seen the power of perseverance, of determination in the face of adversity. And yes, I'm fortunate now, but I didn't get here alone. I had mentors, people who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself, and I want to pay that forward. I want to be part of creating a world where everyone has a chance to succeed, whether they start with a little or with a lot. I know it sounds hard, especially when you see so many people struggling, but I truly believe that if we work together, if we lift each other up, we can create a future where no one is left behind. And no matter where you come from, if you work hard, I am living proof of that. I've always tried to use my position to help others, but I know there's so much more to be done. So when you look at me, don't just see the wealth or the companies. See the years of struggle, the failures, the doubts. See the person who never stopped believing that things could be better. And know that it doesn't matter where you start. What matters is what you do with your life and the heart and effort you put into it. I believe in you. I believe in everyone who's willing to fight for a better future. And that's why I'm here, trying to make the world a little bit better. Not because I have everything, but because I've been through the struggles and I know what it's like. And I know we can all make it. Together. As soon as Elon finished speaking, Oma's stern face slowly shifted. It wasn't a dramatic change, but a subtle, quiet transformation. Her eyes softened as if the weight of her world, for just a moment, had lifted. She looked at him, and a small, tentative smile tugged at her lips. It wasn't a smile of joy or excitement, but a smile of understanding. A smile that said she had been heard, that her words had meant something. The people around them noticed the shift in the atmosphere. The murmurs from the crowd softened. For the first time that day, there was a sense of calm, an understanding that something genuine was happening. Elon, feeling the sincerity of the moment, moved toward Oma slowly, making sure she was comfortable. He knelt down in front of her again, this time with a gentle, warm smile. "You're very brave," he said softly, his voice full of admiration. "What you did today? It takes a lot of courage to stand up and ask the hard questions. You remind me of why I do what I do." Oma's face brightened a little more at his words, her small shoulders relaxing. The sadness that had once enveloped her seemed to dissipate, replaced by a quiet pride. Without thinking, Elon extended his arms and pulled her into a gentle hug. The crowd around them fell silent as they watched the moment unfold. Oma, for the first time that day, didn't resist. She melted into the hug, her tiny arms hesitantly wrapping around him. She was still cautious, but she allowed herself to feel the warmth of the embrace. When they finally parted, Elon stood and smiled at her, his heart warmed by the connection they shared. "Would you like me to meet your parents, Oma?" Elon asked, his voice full of kindness. Oma nodded, her eyes now shining with something beyond sadness, a spark of hope. Elon turned to the local officials and the security personnel, signaling for them to follow him as he walked toward the small shack by the water where Oma had come from. The people around them cleared a path, and the boat behind them began to prepare to leave. Oma led Elon and his group through the narrow, crooked paths of Makoko, and as they got closer to her home, Elon couldn't help but notice the stark contrast between her humble living conditions and the wealth he was used to. Finally, they arrived at Oma's home, a small shack on the edge of the dock where her parents were waiting. When Oma's mother and father saw her approach with Elon Musk and the entourage, they were momentarily stunned. Oma's father, a tall, weathered man with calloused hands, stepped forward, his eyes wide. Oma's mother, a woman with a soft smile and a caring demeanor, followed him, wiping her hands on her dress as she rushed to meet the group. Elon extended his hand to both of them. "Hello," he said with a warm smile. "I'm Elon Musk. I wanted to meet the parents of this brave young girl." Oma's father shook Elon's hand, his rough fingers grasping with a mixture of surprise and awe. "Elon Musk? The one on TV? The one with all the rockets?" he asked, his voice filled with disbelief. Elon chuckled softly. "Yes, that's me. But today, I'm here because of your daughter. Oma is very brave, and I think she deserves something special." Oma's mother stepped forward, her face filled with a quiet, protective joy. "She has been a good girl, but life here, it's not easy. We try our best." Elon nodded, his heart heavy with understanding. He could see the love they had for their daughter, the pride in their eyes despite the harsh conditions they lived in. "I understand," Elon said, "but I want to help change that. Oma deserves a future with opportunities, not just survival." Oma's mother wiped a tear from her eye. "You would help her? You would help us?" "I promise," Elon said, his voice full of sincerity. "I'll make sure Oma gets the education she deserves. I will make sure she has a chance to rise above the hardships you've faced. And I'll make sure this community has the opportunity to build a better future." The words hung in the air, and Oma's parents stood frozen for a moment, unsure if they had heard correctly. "Oma will go to school," Elon continued. "She will learn, grow, and have opportunities. I'll personally ensure that she gets the resources she needs to succeed. And I'm going to work on programs that will help this community as a whole, because no one should have to live in these conditions." Tears welled up in Oma's mother's eyes, and her father's face broke into a wide grin, disbelief mixing with joy. They didn't know what to say, but the gratitude they felt was overwhelming. As the day continued, the small gathering around Oma's home turned into a celebration of sorts. The crowd from earlier began to disperse, but many people stuck around, curious about the promises Elon had made. The word quickly spread that Oma would be going to school abroad. That change was coming. Elon stood in the middle of the crowd, taking in the moment. It wasn't just about helping one little girl. It was about giving hope to an entire community. And for the first time in a long while, Elon felt the power of his position, not just as a billionaire or entrepreneur, but as someone who could make a real, lasting difference. As the sun began to set, Elon turned to Oma one last time. She was standing with her parents, her hands clasped in front of her, her eyes wide with wonder. She was no longer the sad, quiet girl he had met earlier. She was someone who had seen a glimpse of a different future, a future that was now within her reach. "I'll see you soon, Oma," Elon said, his voice gentle. "You have a bright future ahead of you." Oma smiled, her eyes now full of hope. "Thank you," she whispered, her small voice barely audible above the noise of the crowd. Elon smiled back, turning toward the boat that would take him back to the city. As he boarded, he glanced back at the small family and the community, knowing that this was just the beginning. He had made a promise, and he intended to keep it. The boat slowly drifted away from Makoko, but Elon's thoughts remained with Oma and her family. The work was just beginning, but he knew that together they could build a future where children like Oma had the chance to dream, to learn, and to break free from the cycle of poverty.